In this weekly Power City live stream, we're going to be getting into the latest in the crypto DeFi markets, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. But with no further ado, let me bring up my partner in crime, Mr. Just Ask Jesse, in the house.
How y'all doing?
Good to see you, man. Another week in crypto. Bitcoin below 90K. What's going on? What's going on in your opinion?
Oh, who knows, man? You know, right when everybody gets excited in crypto, things go the opposite way. That's such as life in the crypto world. If you don't have strong guts and a strong willpower, crypto's just not the place for you because this is normal. You know, things are extremely volatile in crypto.
Not for the faint-hearted.
Never, never.
To say the least. What do you think about this Bybit hack? What's your take on it? How did it happen? What can we learn from it?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is you should never have your things on an exchange, right? So users, um, that's a lot of money for people across the globe to have stored on an exchange. First off, that's just a portion of what Bybit owns.
Mm.
So you think those are likely users who stored their crypto on the exchange so that they could leverage trade and they could gamble, right? And there's actually places to do this in the DeFi world where you don't have to give your keys to somebody else. You don't have to store your assets on an institutional platform that you have no idea what their security practices are, or how vulnerable their systems are to be hacked. From what I read, it looks like they had multi-signature set up in their wallets. They had which we talked about last week, by the way. We talked about how owning a multi-signature safe and having multiple people have to sign a transaction before the transaction goes through is one of the strongest forms of security. But it's only as secure as like the front end itself, or like how are each of those transactions actually signed. If the hackers were able to spoof the front end and socially manipulate each of those signers, they can still send through a transaction with all the required signatures and send the crypto to some other wallet. So were these people socially engineered? Were they did they essentially give up their private keys? That's what it sounds like. They were tricked. Each one of them were tricked, it seems like. So in crypto, you always have to stay diligent. Other people are always out to get your keys. If you think of it like that, right? You may travel the internet and look at YouTube and look at X and look at Telegram and look at all these places. But if you always keep it in your mind that these other people, regardless what their voice sounds like or what they may look like or how friendly they may be, none of them are truly your friend, and everybody else wishes that they had your seed phrase, and you have to protect that at all costs, then you'll typically be okay. And don't store your things on exchanges. Okay, you store things in your own crypto wallets, hardware wallets, hidden passphrases, or your own multi-sigs, whatever your security looks like. And don't tell people how much you have. Okay, if you tell people that you personally have, $1 billion worth of crypto, for example, you will absolutely become the focus of hundreds and hundreds of people around the globe who are looking at you, trying to figure out where you live, how to get into your computer, How can they trick you out in public? How can they pickpocket you? There's people around the globe who will instantly know this guy says he's a billionaire in crypto. They'll figure out if that's likely true or not, and they will either physically come after you, not even necessarily to hurt you, but to socially engineer and trick you, or they will do everything they can to get a hold of you through one of these social media platforms and have some sort of trick up their sleeve so that you click a link or you do this or do that so they can infect your whatever operating system you're running on. The attacks will come from all different angles. So don't ever tell people how much you have. Don't ever tell people exactly how you secure your crypto. Learn different methods to secure your crypto and make your own decision. Like here on this channel, we told y'all in the public how to use multi-sig, how to use hardware wallets, how to use hidden passphrases, how to use a combination of any of those things. And it's on you to pick which one you use. And it's also on you not to tell anybody else which one you picked or how you're doing it. Because once other people learn how you're doing it and who you are and how much money you have, you will be attacked. People will be targeting you, trying to get into your crypto. People are always trying to get to your crypto. All right. So those are just like some things that come to mind when this stuff happens. This is nothing new. This happens all the time. Whether it's an exchange, which sometimes appears like it's a very easy target because you know how much they have. You can often socially engineer employees and figure out what their security protocols are. And sometimes it's, it's almost like maybe that was the easiest target. Is it easier to attack a crypto exchange or some guy that you have no idea how much money he owns and how he actually does his security? And maybe you don't even know what part of the world he lives in, right? It's probably easier to attack an exchange. So don't put your crypto on exchanges. Get it off of there.
Humans have a weird thing as well, like you said, like we like to tell people stuff, right?
Yeah.
And especially when we feel that maybe the price has gone up and now I'm on paper as well worth this amount. People were doing screenshots. And I remember back in 2021 when the Hex was running, right? And people were doing screenshots from the Staker app, how much they had. And it's like, you're just making yourself a target. Yeah, you might get a small dopamine hit, right? Because, oh, look at me. I'm the big guy. But now you're making yourself a target. And like you said, as soon as people know you've got crypto, they're going to be coming after you. Exchanges are going to be an easy target. But look at this article that I found. I think this is in Singapore alone, but this is like 1.1 billion lost. And one victim had $125 million stolen in one go. So, people are out there trying to get your money. You got to be careful, and you got to have your hardware wallets, your seed phrases stored securely, and don't broadcast around.
Right.
So, but even though this Bybit was weird, right? Because it was a multi-sig, but they still somehow got access to sign all the signatures on there. But again, that's probably quite an elaborate hack.
Right.
It's a reminder, like you said, to get your stuff off exchanges and use exchanges for onboarding and offboarding, right?
Use it for onboarding and offboarding, and that's it. If you like to leverage trade, which is very risky in and of itself, there's ways to do that in the real crypto world. You still maintain your keys and your coins. We have protocols like that on Pulse Chain even. Yeah. Right. Some of the PH protocols you can do that. So you can do leverage trading on. So like the fact that you would desire to give up your coins, give them to somebody else for safekeeping so that you can do your bad habits is really just ridiculous.
Well, we saw, didn't we? What have we seen go down in the last couple of years? Obviously, okay, Luna wasn't an exchange, but it was still a big lesson. Then we had FTX. Then we had Celsius, right?
Yeah, and we've seen dozens. Like if you've been in crypto even 2 or 3 years, you have seen dozens of things collapse, dozens of protocols collapse over the past 3, we'll say 4 or 5 years. Okay, and it's always either some exchange founder literally is just draining the funds and stealing everybody's money. Okay, which is very, very common. Bybit. Okay, so Bybit was hacked. Okay, the next exchange, it could be a similar dollar amount, but it's simply that the founder was spending all the money, or he kept it for himself, or withdrew it, sent it to his own wallets, cashed it out, right? And he lives on a yacht with his own plane and all these things with your money that he shouldn't have been entitled to. Okay, so it's either going to be one or the other with these exchanges. Now, there's a couple exchanges that have lasted throughout nearly the life of crypto. Okay, so one of them would be, we'll say something like Coinbase. All right, Coinbase doesn't. I'm not saying they're not a risk, because the same risks apply. They have keys to crypto wallets stored somewhere, right? And all it takes is somebody to have the seed phrases or the combination of seed phrases, and their stuff can also go missing. All right. You would hope that a place like Coinbase, who's been around since the beginning, isn't going to be thieves, and that they would have the tightest or the highest security. But the same rules apply. If you give your crypto to somebody else, you're going to risk losing it. You do have to use exchanges to off-ramp, but that doesn't mean you have to store your stuff on there for days or weeks or months or years, right? It means, you want to cash some crypto out, send a little bit to an exchange. If it's a lot, if you happen to be wealthy, let's say you needed to cash out $1 million. Would you send $1 million worth of crypto to an exchange? No. Send it in 10% increments. Send 100K, make sure that gets cashed out. Send another 100K, make sure that gets cashed out properly. I'll tell you what, I actually have a story that I haven't shared with a lot of people of an exchange that I almost lost a lot of money. I don't want to really say the amount, but it was a lot. Okay. It wasn't quite $1 million, but it was very close. And the exchange, normal, did the deposit. An exchange that I use quite frequently for smaller deposits. And this time, did a pretty large deposit. Went to go move those funds, swap them, and it didn't work. Okay, frozen, right? And I'm like, okay, what the heck? Contacted the exchange, which was not easy. Some of these exchanges, even places like Coinbase, can be very tricky to get a hold of a live person to talk to somebody. And even then, the first people you talk to are some low-level person who really has no control whatsoever to make decisions on your account. You have to work your way up through the chain until somebody can make a decision. I'll tell you, it was very, very, very hard. And having to answer all sorts of crazy questions. Well, where did the funds come from? What do you do for a living? Like the questions that you already get answered you have to answer at a bank sometimes when you have a large deposit. Well, now the crypto places are asking these same questions. If they see a deposit come in and it differs from your normal deposits, they can literally just freeze your assets. You have to answer all their questions. They never really tell you if they're going to unlock your funds or not. And in some cases, they listen to your answers, They say, okay, well, we'll send this up for further review. And you have no answer, and it could take days or weeks of you nagging them before finally maybe something happens. All right.
It is hard to get in contact with their support.
In my cases, they ended up unlocking it. And it took probably 24 hours and a lot of phone calls until my stuff was unlocked and I was able to move them. And it was a very scary experience. And that's when I'm like, okay, maybe there's some truth to this thing that I've heard before of if you've got a large withdrawal to do or a large amount that you need to go to an exchange, don't send it all at once. You send it in small increments. And small or large to you may mean different things. Maybe to you, $10,000 is a large amount, and it would devastate you if you lost it all. So what do? Send $2,500 at a time to the exchange. Make sure you can go through the process, cash that out. Okay, looks like that cleared. Do another 2,500, another 2,500, another 2,500. Okay, cool. It's all out. All right. Do it that way. Only have your stuff on an exchange as little as possible for as quick as possible, because you are giving your crypto to somebody else that you have to trust is going to give you something back when you ask for it. So just be careful with all exchanges.
Yeah, I think, well, the overarching message this week, obviously markets are down. I think they've been spooked by a few things, but especially this Bybit hack. But it's a good reminder, right? There's a lesson in everything. Get your security in check. Get yourself a hard wallet if you haven't got one. We preach that hard wallets, storing your seed phrases. And if you want to take it to the next level, you can also go to safe.powercity.io. Let me put the link up here on the screen. I've made some tutorials on this. So you can find that here. And here you can make a multi-sig, you can make it safe, and we've talked about that as well. So yeah, it's about being safe, because a lot of people come into this, I guess we all come into crypto, right, with I want to make money and all this stuff, but you don't want to put the horse before the cart, right? And it's about getting your, if people took their securities, had a good foundation of security, and then obviously learned about crypto and all the good stuff in Pulse Chain, DeFi, our protocols, Flex, Earn, the core, staking, all that stuff, right? Then you're building on top of a strong foundation. But if you're just maybe coming in here, throwing money around willy-nilly, not looking after seed phrases and hoping you're going to get rich overnight, normally doesn't work out well, right?
Normally doesn't work out well. And scammers exist everywhere. I have another hard lesson where I was duped. I was tricked in outside of crypto, actually. A custom vehicle builder. This place builds interiors for vehicles. They've been on TV multiple times. So you would think, oh, you see these guys on TV. What a cool place. They could build my interior, no problem. Well, I was a customer of one of those places. And the owner would accept, he would send quotes out to people and take a payment. And man, he was such a good salesman. He would tell you all these things he's going to do to your ride. And then he'd tell you throughout a number of months about the build process. He's building out this interior for your vehicle. But whenever you ask them for a picture, oh, cool, send me a picture, he'd always have some weird excuse. Or people who actually sent their vehicles to this guy to work on, and he had a large shop. He had an 8-bay garage, really nice. Those people, sometimes he would have possession of their vehicles for like a year and a half, 2 years. And it got to the point where people started to realize, well, wait a minute, where's my vehicle, dude? I paid you 2 years ago. Some people paid this guy $50K, $100K. One guy, there's one story of a guy who had a number of vehicles to send him, gave him $700,000. Okay. Anyway, this guy was taking all the money for himself. He would build some vehicles. To the people who complained the loudest, he'd finish their vehicles. But the people who he remember, he's a good salesman, so he'd always convince you, "Oh yeah, we're getting to your vehicle," or "Oh, it's almost done. Just give me another week on it." He'd always uh, he'd always have a reason why your vehicle wasn't done. He was even taking parts off of those people's vehicles and putting them onto other people's vehicles. So imagine sending a guy a vehicle so he can work on it, and he just gives you a whole bunch of bullshit, right? And what he's actually doing is taking parts off of yours to put on an earlier customer's vehicle so he can get that out to him. Kind of
So
like
a
a
Ponzi scheme.
it's a Ponzi
It's like
with
a
vehicles.
Ponzi.
And he was doing the same thing with the money. You'd send him, the payment so he could work on your vehicle.
So
And
you got scammed in this.
He would spend it all on himself, or he'd use a little bit of it to try and hurry up and finish an earlier customer's vehicle from like years ago. And it came back, it just eventually started to unfold on him.
The wheels came off.
The wheels came off. It collapsed big time. And this guy, he took millions of dollars from people. He did ship some vehicles out to people and some kits out to some people. But there's tons of us, dozens and dozens of us, that are empty-handed and have nothing to show for it.
Hang on. So what happened with you?
Yes, I'm a victim of this, and I'm going through it right now with some other guys who are also a victim of it.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's scams everywhere. People trying to take your money everywhere.
So it happens in crypto. It happens in the real world. Always assume if it has to do with money, that the other person might not be a good person. Right? You just have to go with that assumption.
I've learned the hard way. I'm sure many people have, and this is something like that. Yeah, it obviously overlaps into crypto, but if you're a good person, you think everyone else has that mindset, right? Like I would never take someone's money and not deliver on the product. I would never say I could do the job and not do it. But that's you. And there's not everyone, of course, there's good people out there, but there's a small percentage of society that they can sleep soundly at night, taking your money, taking your crypto, rinsing you dry, and without batting an eyelid. So another lesson from Jesse: stay safe in crypto, get your seed phrase protected, and get off centralized exchanges. Thanks for your time, Jesse. We will see you next week. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, like I said, you got to have you got to be tough-minded to be in crypto. And crypto's all falling as of the last week. We've seen a pretty significant dip. Maybe it's not the end of it. Maybe it is the end of it. But you just got to have a strong gut if this is where you want to be. And you do have to have some hope, but be reasonable about your expectations of what may happen. So in the case of Pulse Chain, for example, everyone's hoping that and believing that the SEC case will be thrown away. Cool. Maybe even most likely. Is it already priced in? And is that even why the price is the way it is? We have a lot of users on Pulse Chain. And I was reading some other people's thoughts on X today about that, by the way. You got a handful of people that say, oh, the SEC case, it's almost over. And then the price is going to go up a lot. Who says the price is going to go up a lot? Even if it gets thrown away. If you're not buying now, what's going to make you buy as soon as that case is thrown away if you haven't already bought? Do we think the price is going to moon as soon as that case is like discharged or whatever? Or is the price already going to be baked in? Or are there other reasons the price may be down right now? Right? I'm not trying to foot anything at all. I want people's expectations to be real.
Be realistic.
Be realistic. And don't just assume because some other people said one thing may happen to a price that's ever going to be true. Usually people who say, oh, the price will do this because of that are wrong. And you have to always look at it from other perspectives because anything's possible in crypto. And usually the least expected thing is what happens.
Never a true word said. Thanks, man. And we'll catch you next week.
All right. See you.
Thanks for watching, guys. And for any of our live dApps, you can find the correct link below in the description box. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.